Hello everyone. I just wanted to make another video commenting on some of the coverage and some of the other commentary that I've seen on these riots at the Capitol the other day. I already released one video, vlog entry on this, but some new things kind of sparked my interest. There's a lot of arguments going around being parroted from CNN, and one of the people that jumped on these arguments was our new president-elect, Joe Biden. And I just wanted to kind of address what he said the other day because I think it was super distasteful and super illogical. So instead of coming forth and addressing the rioters and condemning it and asking everyone for solidarity and peace, instead he comes forth and starts race baiting and says that if BLM had been in this riot, then the police would have treated them differently. Insinuating that the police would have just obliterated BLM, where they just let everyone go at these rallies because they're white. That's the idea. Now there's a lot to unpackage here, so I'll try to be quick because I don't want to take too long on this. But there is a lot to look at. So number one, I would say that everybody's going around saying that Donald Trump is inciting violence, and that his words are what stirs everything up. And there may be some validity to that he says some stupid things that I guess weak-minded people can't contain themselves when he says it. But I don't really hold to that position. But here's the thing: if you do hold to that position, then you must admit that the same logic, if it's going to be applied to Trump, it has to also be applied to Biden. It can't be a double standard. You can't say when Trump says stupid things that causes violence, but then when Biden basically says that all of America's racist, all white people are racist, that the police are all racist, and that the police are going to murder all the black people but let all the white people go, you don't think that's going to cause violence? So if one causes violence, then so does the other. And so I personally take things that people say into consideration, and then I weigh them against the truth and my own rationale and reason. And then, I make a judgment based off of that. So it doesn't matter what Trump says or Biden says. I'm not going to go out and be violent. So, maybe some people do that. But unfortunately, that's really sad. There are so many people that just are so ungrounded and never use reason and do not think for themselves. And I think that's the biggest problem. They don't think for themselves. So, something I warn people all the time when they're going to college, when your college professors tell you to think for yourself, what they really mean is believe every single thing I tell you, even if it contradicts what your parents have told you. That's all they mean by that. They don't mean think for yourself. God forbid, if you ever came up with an original thought, your professors would be furious probably. So I just want to put that out there. So people don't think for themselves anymore. And so maybe they're right. Maybe that is true. Maybe Trump's words do cause violence. But, if you're going to hold to that, you have to also say that so do Biden's. So like I said, I feel like I'm responsible for my own actions. I don't blindly take everything on blind faith that every public figure or politician says. And I think if anybody does, that's absolutely absurd. And those people are unstable to begin with. And so, then you can come around and argue that maybe it's still not those public figures' fault. But by Biden logic, it is. And also this idea that he's touting that BLM would be treated differently than these so-called, these Trump supporters or whatever they are. I think he's right. They would be treated differently. Because we've seen months and months for like half a year now, we've seen them run around burning down the country, and nobody's done a single thing to stop them. Where there was an unarmed Trump supporter shot the very first night. So yeah, I think there is a difference. There really is a difference. I'm not saying the person shouldn't have been shot. Maybe they should. Maybe they shouldn't. The more I look into the case, that looks like an unjustified killing. A little girl sneaking in the window got shot, or I say little, but she's not a girl, she's a small woman, but still, you telling me the police force couldn't stop her and shut her down, an unarmed petite person, without just gunning her down? Oh well, that's not my point. The point is, the left wants to throw a fit whenever whenever unarmed people are shot, but not if they're white, and not if they're conservative or Trump supporters. Like I said last time, I don't believe they're conservative. Anybody that's going to attack the Constitution, by very definition, cannot be conserving the Constitution or the government. At any rate, we've seen the police actually abandon their police stations and let BLM and Antifa just go hog wild in there, have free reign of the place. So I would agree that this is another one of Biden's lies, but this time everything out of his mouth is a lie. But this time he accidentally told the truth. He just inadvertently said something that was true, trying to suggest something that wasn't. So in my opinion, if this were Antifa or BLM, they probably would have been allowed to march right in, and the whole place would be on fire right now, just like they burned down the police stations. So, you can try and argue with me, but it seems pretty evident to me. Just look at it with an objective eye. Because attacking the Capitol is a horrendous and atrocious act. But if you're attacking politicians in the Capitol, how's that any different than attacking politicians leaving Trump speeches? So because it's in the Capitol, does that make it much more evil that these politicians are being threatened there, rather than when they're being threatened out in the street, leaving a Trump speech? I mean, you can go online and see videos of BLM and Antifa attacking and threatening conservative politicians. So I guess, that doesn't count. You can threaten your lawmakers, you can threaten everyone and try to rule by mob, but just don't do it right there in the building, okay? You got to let them walk outside first, and then you mob them, okay? So apparently that's okay by the left, the standards of the left, but, so you got to wait for them to come outdoors, apparently. And then it's fair game. And, you also have the Antifa and BLM attacking the police. And these people are hired to uphold the laws that our elected politicians make. The people we elect, they make the laws for us because we elect them to make the laws we want. And then we allow BLM and Antifa to attack the people that enforce the laws. So that undermines your vote right there. That undermines your freedom. That undermines your democracy. You can't have a democracy without someone to enforce the laws. As you can see. Because then the people just mob the politicians, or get in a mob and destroy everything and destroy people's livelihoods and destroy people's homes and kill people, like the poor officer who went out in the night to protect his friend's pawn shop, and they killed an innocent man who happened to be black, even though it was supposedly racial justice. So watch out. If you get in the way of racial justice, it doesn't matter what color you are, you're going to get steamrolled right over. Even if you don't even intend to, if you're just trying to protect your friend's business because you've been trying to take care of a guy and and at any rate. So, that's something to think about. There's not just a strict line like once you enter in the building, then you're a bad guy. But you can attack all the politicians and the people that enforce the politicians' laws all you want to outside with mob rule. So consider that. And to be honest, it's not really Biden's fault to a certain extent. He's just parroting what he heard on CNN. And if you watch the video of Biden, he's trying to read a teleprompter and he can't even read it. And so, he's just a puppet. He's doing whatever they tell him to do, saying whatever they tell him to say. And I guess that is his fault. Be a man, for crying out loud. Trump, sometimes he said things that he exaggerated the truth. He said things that he talked about things he didn't know about. He wasn't respectful when he spoke. But for God's sake, at least he was a man and he stood up for what he thought was right, even if he was wrong. And, can we ask for the same from Biden? Can Biden at least just have an opinion and stand for something? This is the guy that's going to run our country and stand up to other nations and bargain with them. Have you ever seen a coward or a puppet bargain? They don't. They cave. So, anyway, that's what we got, and we'll have to suffer through it. Like I said, Christ is king, and I'm not too worried about it. We've been in worse shape, I'm sure. The human race has definitely been in worse shape. We'll make it through this like we did everything else. And don't ever put all of your hope in a politician regardless. The only person you can put all your hope in the whole world is, in the entire world, is Christ. He's the only one that's not going to let you down. Biden puppeting CNN, people have got to stop doing that. And that's one of the reasons I made this video, is because people that I know, that I see on social media, are puppeting CNN. Everything that CNN says, they just word vomit. They just vomit it right back out at everybody else. But you got to stop and think for a second. Think for yourself, like I said, because most of the stuff that CNN says is completely illogical, and I think I've kind of just run you through that here just in the last few minutes. Almost everything they said was a lie and complete nonsense, and they try to rewrite history moments after it happens. Talk about gaslighting and crazy, like, post-apocalyptic, dystopian future stuff right here that we're living through. You know, it has begun. So you got to stop parroting them. Come up with your own reasons. Come up with your own arguments, or at least listen to what they have to say and then see if it's real before you just go off spouting it on Facebook. You got to stop doing that. Don't be a puppet for the leftist news media. Don't let them pull your strings. Since the newly elected president-elect is race baiting, I just want to say that the worst thing about 2020 for me, it was not COVID or any of that stuff. It was realizing that 60 years after the civil rights movement, here we are still just as ignorant and stupid about skin color as we were back then. I thought we progressed. I thought things got better. My day-to-day interactions with people. And one of the things that I was just super happy about when I moved to Texas was that there was no racism. People of every color, of every culture, we're all getting together, and we're all working together and enjoying our time together, especially in the church, worshiping together, but even in the outside secular world. And it made me so happy in teaching. It's like the students weren't racist. No one was. It's like they had no concept of it, really. For the most part. And so it was so uplifting. That's something that just made me feel so good. Felt like I said, I felt like for a while, like, hey, maybe Christians are winning this fight. Maybe we're turning the tide. And then here comes George Floyd debacle. And, whether you think he was murdered by the cop, or whether it was manslaughter, or whether it was whatever you think about it, I'll leave that to you to go figure out the details. I've written comments about it before, but the point is, no matter what you think, once you saw how racist the left is trying to promote racism and bring us back to those days, it really hurt my heart to see that, to see people running around burning everything to the ground, and I was, it's like, wow, talking about systemic racism. It's like the government wants to view everything in the light of race. How silly, how stupid. So anyway, I'll leave you on that note. Until next time, everybody.
If you enjoyed this video, consider liking and subscribing. If you didn't, then like and subscribe anyway, or I'm going to be forced to write something terrible about you on Biden's teleprompter.